Detective Loki is showboating, but he be knowing what to do. Hello there, everybody. I'm Anaji, and this is FMV Reviews. And today we're going to be talking about the second episode of the Loki TV show. So I'm going to give a really brief synopsis. I am going to spoil stuff. So after this synopsis, I'm just going to be spoiling things. But even maybe during the synopsis, I might be spoiling things. So we have where Loki is now at the TVA, and he's trying to get a lay of the land about how the TVA works. Him and Mobius are on the trail of the other version of him, and they make a breakthrough in figuring out how this Loki has been evading them. And maybe we even get a glimpse at this other version of Loki. I'm just going to go down my points. I definitely think, especially in this episode, that Loki's a really fun character, and we're really getting to see Tom Hiddleston have a lot of fun playing it. I think with the spotlight being on him now, he's able to do more. A thing that I think is interesting that's being added to this Loki character is that there's a kind of like a childlike curiosity and playfulness to him that I don't really remember as much from the Marvel MCU kind of stuff. Probably because he was a villain, he wasn't the main character, so we weren't getting to see that much stuff about him. But yeah, I like the fact that they're adding layers and dimension to this villain character that we've been watching for about a decade. I also like the fact that this show does have Marvel's sense of humor, but it's allowed to go a little bit darker. It's allowed to be a little macabre. I specifically am thinking of the scene where Loki and Mobius go to Pompeii, and some of the actions that Loki takes are not lighthearted necessarily, but yeah, I like the fact that they're sort of leaning a little bit more into that. I also realized too, I think with this being like an ongoing series and not like a movie, I think this actually plays into the fact that, like, we always hear that Loki's like a god of mischief. He's always got schemes and plans. I don't think the movies have really showed those very well, but I think this TV show, because it's a long form storytelling, we're getting to see more of that sort of scheming and long-term scheming happening. That's possibly you can only really do with a TV show. So I'm glad that they're allowing that element to come up. But I think all these elements of Loki coming through have a big part to do with the fact that I think the dynamic between Mobius and Loki really, that's where the show really shined. I know they were touting Falcon and the Winter Soldier as like their buddy cop show, but to be real, this actually kind of might be more their buddy cop show. The way the TVA comes off here, they do come off very much like cops, like detectives, and there's definitely several scenes within this episode that feel very 70s, kind of serial killer, whatnot, with the dark detectives, you know, looking over desks for files, and the way the mood is once they actually go out to try to find this other version of Loki. I actually really appreciated that kind of thing. But another thing I'm starting to realize with their dynamic, there's kind of like a sibling dynamic when it comes to them, with Mobius being the older brother and Loki being the younger brother. And I like that dynamic. The way Mobius is like very calm and collected, and Loki's very energetic and kind of rambunctious and all over the place, and they really balance each other out really well. And I like the fact that their scenes together, I think, are starting to bring up some of the more deeper philosophical themes of what the show is probably going to be about in terms of free will versus destiny. I think the fact that Mobius seems to be, like, when you hear Mobius talk about his belief in the TVAs, there's an element of faith that's being brought up, right? And I found that very interesting. This show is definitely tackling themes and asking questions that I don't really think the Marvel movies really did, which is part of the reason why I think the Marvel TV show stuff is benefiting from this longer form storytelling. I will say I have a suspicion, I'm making a prediction, that when it comes to the timekeepers, that I get the feeling there might be a Wizard of Oz-ish thing kind of going down. I think in the scene with Mobius talking to his boss, there's an element there that I think there's going to be a twist with the timekeepers, that maybe they're not alive anymore, or maybe they're not really there. I get the feeling that's something that's going to happen. I don't know for sure though. When I talk about like the macabre kind of humor, I thought it was funny that in one of the investigation scenes, when they're trying to figure out what disaster the other version of Loki might be hiding in, that they just very casually list off a bunch of just disastrous things that are waiting for Earth's timeline future, just these like natural disasters that are just taking us out basically, which, I mean, let's be real, that might happen. it might happen. I don't know about y'all, but it's been hot here in Colorado. But yeah, I will say when it comes to that sort of darker humor though, I'm noticing with the TVA that they feel very much like the police in ways that are familiar and in ways that are also kind of disturbing. Like there's a very telling scene where when Mobius and them go to this future version of Alabama that's going to be hit by this like huge hurricane or something, the way the TVA officers are treating these people who are going to die, they're not going to make it out of there, and how callous the TVA agents are being with them, I couldn't help but think of the police, to be real. And I'm pretty sure this is an element that is kind of done on purpose. This is a parallel. I just wanted to point it out. But yeah, as we start to wrap this up, I'm just gonna say this episode, spoilers, ends, and we finally get to see this other version of Loki, and I'm very curious to know what she's gonna bring to the table, because she seems to be ahead of the game in terms of even our own Loki and what's going on. So I'm curious in this next episode, once they finally get to talk, what her plans are, and yeah, what's her motivation? What is she trying to do? So yeah, I think with that, with episode 2 to Loki, I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. Yeah, I definitely like this one a little bit more than the first episode, and I'm just hoping that from each episode on, the scores just keep getting higher and the show keeps wowing me and surprising me. So yeah, if you guys saw the second episode of Loki, let me know what you thought of it. Comment down below and I'll comment back to you, because yeah, I like the direction that Marvel's going in with these TV shows. So until next time, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.